So hello everyone, welcome to the session. So we are recording the session, so I hope that's good with all of you. Myself Sunku, I'm here with Aswarth and Ankit. We're doing this session, as someone who has done EB1A evidence gathering, built a profile, and gotten EB1A. So to that end, we figured we can host Ask Me Anything session with between three of us. I'll just quickly read out the basics. So I hope everyone please keep yourself on mute. And if you have questions, like once we're done next few minutes with the slides, then we can open it up for questions. So myself, I'm a principal product manager, and we have Aswarth, who's a staff ML engineer, and we have Ankit, who's a data science manager. So we'll get started with the session right now. So a brief disclaimer, which is very important. So this is not a legal advice, right? So it's best if you discuss your legal questions with an attorney. The discussion and viewpoints covered in this session are to be considered as opinions and do not substitute for legal opinions or legal advice. So for further questions on your profile, on your case, reach out to your attorney. So we want to kickstart with common myths, right? So this is something people think are needed, or this is what we have seen for most people. They hold back thinking these are true, and they don't succeed in or pursuing EB1A as such. So we'll just quickly run through that and go through what we have done, our story. So first thing, you need to have PhD. Like people think you need PhD to go for EB1A criteria, which is not true. So almost everything written here, pretty much everything written here is not true. So which just want to clarify, right? So you don't need to have a PhD. And the other thing is, hey, absolutely must have publications, or even if you have publication, you must have citations, not necessarily. And I personally myself do not have a lot of citations, and then I'll share more later. But that's not compulsory or mandatory. Or the third one is publish in top tier conferences. It's not a must have. Yeah, Aswarth or Ankit, your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me this question. So whenever they want to start for EB1, so this is what I hear a lot. I mean, like, oh, we need to have like a PhD, or we have to be in US, or we need to have like a lot of patents. So, but the thing is, uh, these are all some of the things that are not, sorry, all of the things are not true. So, Sunku, could you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you see the next slide?
yeah, now I can see. Okay.
Okay.
So, as per the USCIS website, so this is what the USCIS focuses on, especially for the EB1A criteria. Okay, so it's like either you have like a Nobel Prize or Turing Award or something equivalent, or you need to at least meet 3 out of 10 criteria. Okay, so if you see in here, the USCIS clearly said that you don't need a PhD or you don't need like a $1 million salary or like a lots of patents and stuff. So you need to fulfill 3 of these 10 criteria, and then they also look at like what is the holistic view. Say for example, for me, if it is Ashworth, so okay, Ashworth met 3 criteria. So meeting the 3 criteria alone is not sufficient. So they also need look at Ashworth as like a holistic view, saying like, okay, is he of extraordinary ability? And he is continuing this whatever this ability for a period of time, and also how his work will benefit the US economy, and also how once he enters United States, so continuing to work in the same area of expertise. So if you see, so these are some of the 10 criteria, and out of that you need to meet only at least 3 of the criteria.
Yeah, and I think the important thing here to take away is right. So it's not that you have to fine tune yourself towards one or other or all of them. Based on your profile, your experience, your background, pivoting towards like certain set of criteria that works best for you is the key. And to that end, that's where understanding the criteria and then correlating to your background expertise and experience really helps you out to figure out, okay, these are the things that I want to go with.
Yeah. And just another point is around final merits. I think this is one of those underrated things for most of the EB1A candidates, where folks kind of try to emphasize on the criterias and meeting the criterias, but then final merit is something which, at least for me, I'll talk more about my journey later on, but that is something for which I got my first petition denied, and one of the key aspect which they look for is sustained national and international acclaim. Now, what that is like over the period of 5 years or whatever that period is, like your entire career, it can be how you have demonstrated uh, whatever comes under the umbrella of sustained national and international acclaim. And so, what that is, what you can put in your final merit section, those are some of the key pointers which are often overlooked when candidates are preparing for their EB1A application.
Yeah, thanks, Ankit. So yeah, moving on to the next slide. So I'll quickly cover some of the criteria that I went with. So my background is into 5G infrastructure and cloud infrastructure. So these are some of the work I've done. I know that this is like over time, not just decided one day and it all showed up, but this has been built over time. I Most of my work, I try and mapping it to the criteria. To that end, prizes or awards category, some open source leadership awards and original contributions have around 12 patents filed and pending at the USPTO, and then 3 of them granted. That contributed to some standards and a lot of articles on company websites, book chapters, but did a lot of conferences, over 30 international conferences. In terms of membership, being a IEEE senior member and being elected to some of the technical committees within my domain of work in the open source uh, realm, and critical role in organizations, I was able to substantiate with set of recommendation letters and business impact, and trade publications and major media contributed to a lot of articles in my domain to a certain set of news websites or publications in my area, and judging work of others. Done a lot of reviews in conferences, industry working groups, maintain a role. So overall, holistically, so from a judging perspective, I was able to correlate all of these and kind of convey like my impact in the domain that I'm working in. And I've done over 30, 35 international peer-reviewed conferences through IEEE, Open Infrastructure Foundation, Linux Foundation events, so peer-reviewed events in general. So yeah, I mean, so I've done a lot, but then the reality is that I had to work with my attorney to correlate all of this and put together a petition where so the work I've done correlates to the domain and the criteria and the final merits determination in general. Briefly about my learnings, right? I realized, I don't have to be an Einstein because I started as a normal software engineer with master's degree. I don't have a PhD, and I did not start with a specific domain in mind, saying like I'll be a domain expert in this. Let me go do this. So essentially, regular job, regular role. But then as I started working towards my profile, I started building towards like, okay, what helps, what doesn't help, and then started learning and doing those things. And I had to learn to navigate through open source communities, building a network in a community, and figuring out what helps in the entire ecosystem of IEEE, and figure out like what the contributions could be. The important thing for me was reaching out to people and say, how can I help? That really helped me out. Like it's always from a perspective of how can I help others, and that helped me build out the strong evidence. And filing perspective, I went with a company law firm. I did not have an RFE. I think my case was strong enough. I think overall, and I gave like a 70, 80 page draft to the lawyer and say like, here's all the work I've done. And they said like, yeah, this is great. And I got a approval right in the first time I tried. Yeah, go to the next slide. Go ahead, Aswarth.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Aswarth, Abhilash, Dara. So I mean, my domain of expertise is in artificial intelligence. So especially for this EB1A petition, so I mean, I'm slightly deviating from Sunku, but so I focused mainly on like three criteria, which I felt like and I mean I'm the strongest. So one is like the original contribution, so that I showed it through like a dozen of research publications, and also I also had like commercializations. I mean, like, so the research I have done, it's also being bought by some of the companies. So that's where also I use that as part of the original contributions and the recommendation letters from the people who are in the field and then who vouched for me. One of the things here was like one thing to note here was like both dependent recommendations and also like independent recommenders. So dependent are the ones who know you very well personally, and independent are the ones who doesn't know you. So I got like a mix of both of them to strengthen my petition. And the criteria that I didn't have when I was applying for the EB1A was the judging. So I built my profile over a period of like 10 months so that I can do like judging for at least like 12 peer reviews. So that's one of the number I had in mind before applying for the petition. And now I did like so far like 30 plus review sessions. And also since I'm in the research in the artificial intelligence research. So the authorship of scholarly articles is like I also used for that, and for the awards and critical role. So I specifically didn't use that as one of the criteria, but I just made sure that they are included in my recommendation letters and also in the final merits. So if you look at my timeline is slightly interesting because I received my NIW first, and I got my green card through national interest waiver, but my EB1A petition got approved after I received my green card. Go to the next slide. Yeah, I think some of the things I already covered, but for me, the important learning I would say is my persistence. So I mean, when I started this process, I checked with my company lawyer. They said like, oh, you know what, you're not eligible for this, or they only say like you are not eligible for this, and they didn't tell me like how I can improve my profile. So there I have to go through like internet and talking to external immigration lawyers and also like various forums to see like how I need to build my profile. And I mean, like everything I have to look through the online to make sure that I have the relevant information. And then with respect to the filing, so I didn't go through the company lawyer. So I went through an external firm. And in the first time itself, no RFE, and I got like a direct approval for it. Yeah.
Cool. So for me, again, my niche, similar to Aswarth, was data science, and so I have like more than 10 years of experience in this field in India and in US. Then the criteria which I targeted were like judging, where I reviewed. I was the technical reviewer for packet publication. Most of you may be knowing or have read books published by that publication. And so I was mainly reviewing machine learning engineering and data science books. So that was something which I put in my petition. It was also a good kind of exposure for me to learn about new technologies which are coming up in the field. Then I reviewed some startup competitions. They were so I am in the Pacific Northwest area, so University of Washington has some startup competitions, and so I went there as a reviewer on their panel. I have some angel investing background as well, which helped me in the critical role aspect as well, and that was the reason I was basically invited to judge in these startup competitions. And then was on the judging panel of few data science awards as well. So yeah, these constituted my judging criteria. For awards, I got a couple of awards in data science, both nationally and internationally. Um, then authorship of articles. So I have publications, but not a lot of citations. And then I did some literature reviews. So these were part of my uh, articles, uh, and then some of these articles were used by some companies for their work, similar to Aswarth, and so I was able to get in some reference letters from them as well. Another criteria was salary, and then critical role, where at reference letter and angel investing was one of the aspect which I brought in there as well. So yeah, this was my the criteria which I targeted. My green card timeline is applied for EB1A in October 2022. I got a RFE. I responded to the RFE, but got a denial. So that was my first petition. And my main learning, which I'll share in a bit, was around final merits. That I didn't kind of emphasize a lot on final merit in the first filing. So I spent 6 more months to build up my portfolio and also kind of revamp my petition and then refiled in July. I got a NOID from them, but then I responded to the NOID and got an approval. So in the second filing, I got the approval. Cool. Next slide. So again, learnings, as Aswarth mentioned, persistence is the key. So for me, it's the timeline speaks for it. But other than that, final merit is something which uh, I believe it's, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's underrated. And so make sure that you are bringing in that aspect of sustained national and international acclaim in final merits. And it may be that those, like, you're applying for some, I see some questions already in the chat, which is in line with what I have in my mind, is that it can, like, there were maybe few membership, like I had few memberships in like Asia Pacific, AI associations, and then there's Global AI Hub. They were not like moving the needle for my membership criteria, but putting all of that together in the final merit section, that helped. And that's where you can show that you have that sustained national and international acclaim over the period of like 5 years. That's typically what from my experience, USCIS looks for. Then for me, the starting point was, started as a machine learning researcher, did my master's, and then I had some angel investing background, and so that was something which I wanted to pursue further, and that was my primary motivation for doing, EB1A and getting the green card. So I started to look around for, what's out there. I joined one of the programs for EB1A, and then yeah, like the program definitely helped, but then there's a lot of self building which I had to do, and then was navigating online, was reading up forums, asking different immigration lawyers, attending webinars as you folks are doing. So all of that, and then filed with an external law firm. As I mentioned earlier, first petition got RFE and then a denial, and then second got a NOID, and responded to the NOID and got an approval. Yeah, so yeah, that was my learnings.
Great. Yeah, we'll open it up for Q&A. We'll be sharing the slides soon. I believe all of you are registered, so you get an email voucher for that. And then also, it'd be great if you can fill in some feedback around what would help you going forward. I will share the link in the chat. That would be a big help, as we intend to do more of this to help you guys out, to share as much information as we can. It'd be good to know what would help for the folks. So yeah, with that, we can open it up for questions. Akash has graciously volunteered to help us out with moderating the questions. I think we're trying to respond some questions in the chat, but yeah, this is a good time to unmute yourself and ask questions.
Yeah. Can everyone raise their hands if you have any question? Then I can call you out in that order. Okay. Awesome. The first question we have is from Sijo.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, Ankit, Sunku, and Aswarth for organizing the session. It's really helpful, and it was helpful to see your backgrounds and your journey and stuff like those. Really helpful for somebody who's starting out generally. So I have a question for Ankit, actually. So he said that he had a denial the first time, and then 6 months later, he went on with the application. So what changed in those 6 months? What made you go from the denial to approval? Inside, like I would say, 6 months for me is a short period of time. So what is the strategy you went with?
Yeah, like I would say, one thing which was pretty evident to me from the denial was that I didn't spend a lot of time with my final merits or putting it in the way it should have been. There was that. And then again, I got few more awards in the meantime. So when I filed for the first time, the awards were kind of, the days were a bit out. And so I got few more awards under my belt. I think there was one more paper which I published. So yeah, like, making small improvements overall, and then just revamping the final merit section. That kind of helped me.
Okay, I have one more question to Ankit. So can you elaborate more on the angel investing part? So most of us, I believe, are on H-1B visa and we are tied to our job, right? So how did you pursue, like, I'm thinking it in terms of having another job, or USCIS might see it as a spending time with another employer. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so angel investing on your H-1B, you can be a limited partner in a angel syndicate. Because it's as good as investing in stock market, right? Like, which you can as like even on H-1B, I'm pretty sure most of the folks are investing in stock market. So it's similar to that. And the way I brought that story is that, okay, I was basically involved in like in the investments which these syndicates made, and I was part of the startup. Due to that, I showed that, okay, what are the parameters which I looked into while investing in a startup, right? And then there were few reference letters I got from syndicate leads, and then the startup competitions where I was called as a judge. I got some reference letters from those competitions, like from UW. I got a reference letter. I showed that, okay, this was the invitation which I got. These were the winners. And so all of that is within the purview of H-1B, right? So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. One last question. This is to all of them. Like, so I don't know whether like, so I am still hesitant. I was actually working on a book for like maybe a year or so, but I'm just hesitant to publish because of the same aspect, like being on H-1B. A lot of publications require a contract for a particular period of time. So how can I navigate publishing a book while on H-1B? If any of you have thoughts, yeah, it'd be helpful.
So essentially, at least from what I've done, right? So I worked with publisher, and then the organizer of the book that has been coordinating around coordinating with the publisher in order to figure out like what content would be published with the other authors, right? So I worked with them to contribute some of the chapters, and also the publisher was happy to take it in. In terms of monetary aspect, it wasn't a key criteria for me. It was more the fact that my name was part of the book, and also my contributions are part of the book. So to that end, I mean, you can keep it generic and work with the publisher to have your book published.
So you're saying that it doesn't affect USCIS, it doesn't raise a red flag with the USCIS, is that correct?
Yeah, not that I've seen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and folks, I'd suggest like please keep it to one question. I know there are a lot of folks over like what 100 plus folks, like a bunch of questions coming in. So we can always follow up through LinkedIn. We all are available through LinkedIn. We can answer more questions if there are. But yeah, let's keep it to one question and keep going. We can always circle back.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Sure.
Yeah,
Who's next?
Shubham.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can.
Thank you. All right. So my question is that uh, I have been working as a data scientist for like last 5-6 years, but in different industry or domains. For example, healthcare, advertising technology, and cybersecurity. Now, will I be able to showcase my profile for EB1A for the work I've done so far and whatever I'm going to do onwards, or if I aim in a particular industry niche, then all my previous work would be rendered irrelevant for all the other industries? That's my main concern.
Aswarth, do you want to take it?
Probably, yeah, best answered by both of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can take that. So yeah, this is one of the questions I receive quite a bit actually. So you mentioned that you are a data scientist, right? So usually in my case, and I also worked in natural language processing and machine translation and a bunch of other stuff, So I think the niche you can try was, because all of this, since you're a data scientist, I assume that all of this involves some part of like artificial intelligence or machine learning. Is just like all of them are like subfields of artificial intelligence, right? So maybe I would see was like you can take like area of expertise as like artificial intelligence. So and then whatever the different projects you have worked on. So the one common piece was using your data science knowledge and also the AI and machine learning for different subfields in artificial intelligence. So I would say that would be like a good starting point. So that's what I did.
Okay, that does help me clarify this. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Delhi.
Hey, yeah, sure. Thanks, guys. Hey, thanks, Sunku and team for organizing this, right? So I have a question to Ankit, right? So Ankit, like you have seen RFE and NOID, right? So you've seen both of it and you've responded to it. So did your approach change based on the difference between getting RFE and NOID, or is it one and the same for you? So could you explain how you approached from the different standpoint?
Yeah, the approach was that, again, the when I got the RFE, or when anyone gets the RFE, USCIS just provide information around, okay, these are the things which they're looking for, and they were not able to find it in the application. So that is kind of the baseline which I started from, where sometimes it's that the way you are presenting the evidence, right, is like you have the evidence, but you're not presenting it in a way which gives the impression that, okay, you have done that, or that particular thing is actually covered. So basically, the way drafting the petition or drafting the response is what changed after getting the RFE and NOID, because now I have some starting points around what they're looking for. Again, they're very generic. It's not very specific. Most of the time it's copy paste. But then like the way you're drafting the petition, that's typically what I change in my approach.
Okay. From your denial, does it matter if you have a denial and then you file it again, or is there a disadvantage getting a denial and filing it again, or USCIS considers the second petition as a whole, or it doesn't
Not
matter?
that I know of. Not that I know of. Yeah. I don't think that's the case, because like a lot of people get denial, and then when they refile they get approval. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, Ankit.
Yeah,
I
I've heard.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard same from my attorney as well. Like you can always reapply. That shouldn't be a problem. And here's an important thing I think in general to everybody, right? So your narrative in the your narrative to the lawyer about your work and your importance and impact is very crucial, so that lawyer can translate that, and their overall that impact needs to be, their narrative needs to be impactful to convey to the USCIS as well. So, if not for anything, at least suggest working on your narrative to provide a good level of details to your attorney. Okay, next question.
DV.
Hey, hi, I'm Divya. Thank you for arranging this conference. It's really very helpful. And my question is related to the judging and senior membership criteria. So generally, I thought when I started to prepare my petition, having IEEE senior membership and BCS would help me and make my add one of the strongest eligibility criteria. But recently, I came to know that USCIS is no longer or it is like questionable that IEEE senior membership they may not accept it. So so my question is like these judging and senior membership, will this is there any limitation can we say like if you have these many judging experience or these many membership, you can treat that as a stronger criteria, or it's always questionable, don't take that into your one of your strongest eligibility, consider something else. Is there something like that you can advise?
Yeah, Ankit, do you want to start? I can add it.
Yeah, I would say, with judging, still there is a fair chance, right? Like if you have reviewed papers as Aswarth did, or reviewed books, you can tell that okay, now you are at a stronger place for the judging criteria. But for membership, I still don't know if the membership. I had BCS, and I'm pretty sure folks have triple E. Like last I knew, it was not a criteria which was accepted, and membership, as you may already know, it's a difficult one to crack. But as I said, that does not mean that it won't be helpful in the application. Like final merit is definitely a place where you can put in those membership, and there they can see that overarching picture that you have used, where you can use membership as your to meet the criteria of sustained national and international acclaim for final merits.
Got it. I can use them as a final merit, but showing them as one of the main criteria is not suggestible.
Okay. I won't say suggestible. Use it, but you can't say that it will go through. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So one pointer to add from my side. So towards your question around IEEE senior membership or BCS or any of these memberships things, right? It's when something is very common in almost every petition. For example, they see that hey, this particular thing is appearing, or or something is pretty common that you can achieve. It becomes a question as to whether is it extraordinary or not. So to that end, any evidence or memberships, these things, right? So you can get a sense whether is it like are there certain strict bylaws for the memberships for us to get, and only certain section of people would get in? Yeah, then that's like relatively stronger evidence versus something that everybody's getting. So to that end, like you have to think through with your lawyer, have a discussion to see like is it strong based on the bylaws that's been established for membership, or the nature of people that got in membership. So that can help you evaluate like what is good enough or not.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Next question.
Pranav.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this. I have a question around premium processing. And the question is, did you all go through premium processing for filing your EB1As? And do you recommend doing premium processing? Are there any pros and cons of it? What I've heard is that going through premium processing often results in an RFE simply because that gives them more time to review your petition. But I could be totally wrong about this, but I was wondering if you had any recommendations or advice around that.
Yeah, Swarth has been silent, but I can start. Like, yeah, I did apply for premium. I applied for so my petition was sent in November, December, and then I applied for premium in February next year. And to that end, I was expecting an RFE as well because there was a high chance of getting an RFE. So the alternative was to wait for like a year or more than a year. I think these days, like 1.5 years or so, until your EB1A petition gets picked up. So for me, I didn't want to wait because I had my evidence ready and I was prepared for RFE as well. So I just went with premium. So it's relative to what you want to do. Yeah, Aswarth or Ankit, I don't know if you're.
So, I mean, see, I don't know how to answer this question, but
It's
based
tough
on
one.
my experience, I will tell. So, see, there are like a lot of people who got EB1A even, sorry, with the premium processing activated. But I mean, it changes from, I would say, like from a lawyer's perspective to another lawyer's perspective. So for me, I didn't go for premium processing because of some other reasons. Uh, so, but I think it's a question to ask for your lawyer. That's what I would go about it. But based on what I have seen so far, I mean, this is only my opinion. Okay, don't take it for granted. So I don't think it will matter that much, but there are people who are telling that it might matter. So I mean, better check with your attorney for that.
Okay, thank you.
Nitya?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so my question is related to obtaining opportunities for awards or peer review. So I am someone who spent most of my career just excelling at work and just being a high performer and like always getting promoted and stuff like that. How can I use that info to actually be nominated for an award or to be invited as a peer reviewer and just use my work experience for that instead of having papers published outside of work or yeah, I'm struggling to like find that transition. How did you all approach it? Also, thank you so much for doing this and thanks for your time. Yeah.
For judging, I can take a call. So uh, see, for judging, right? So when a lot of people will think about like, oh, I need to publish here, I need to have some publications in order to get some peer reviews. Okay. But the thing is like there are other aspects of peer reviewing you can consider. So peer reviewing means it's not just like doing a review for a research paper, you know. So it can also be like a technical paper because there are like a lot of conferences which have like an industry track. So where you can start you can start there. Say for example, the way I started was I try to identify who are my friends who are currently doing the interview. Since I don't have experience, I haven't got the invitations yet. So what I did was I joined in their reviews as like a secondary reviewer so that I can gather some experience. So, and then use that secondary reviewer experience to talk to to talk to the organizers or program chairs at different conferences, both in either industry track or in the research track, to get my reviews on my own. So once I started getting them, so they keep on coming. So I think I would advise you to start doing that.
So how long did this process take you? I see people getting EB1 in like 1 to 2 years of period, but your journey sounds like it was like more than 5 or 6 years or more than that, right? All three of you. So do you have any thoughts to add on like how
Good
long this
question.
process is gonna be? Yeah.
Good question. So I think Sunku and Ankit, they can tell from their side. See, from my side, because so the majority of the time went in because I didn't know about these options before. Okay, so I didn't know about like NIW or EB1A. So if you ask me when did I start, so I think I seriously started in like June 2022, and then I submitted my petition somewhere in March 2023. So I think it took me around like less than an year to do the full petition. So yeah,
That's
Sunku
interesting.
and
Thank you.
Ankit,
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
your
from my side, I started early, like back in 2017, and I had no information around what the criterias are, what the evidence should look like. So I just kept doing, thinking these things might help. So to that end, I have built a lot of evidence, as you might have seen in the one of the slides here. But so 2 to 3 years, I gathered evidence, and I still wasn't sure whether that was good enough or not, because there was a huge pushback from attorneys at the time in my company that hey, they need to have certain grade level or a level in the company, certain salaries, etc. There's a expectation even without looking at my evidence. So to that end, I just kept gathering. And then when I was ready, so when I thought I was ready, and I reached out, but even I had to convince, like, look, I have so much, I've done a lot of these things, and I was, hey, take up my case seriously. So only then, when they saw the evidence I had, like, they took up my case. So since I went with the company kind of framework for what was needed, right? So
I'm going
that's why
through
it
the
took over
same.
nearly
Yeah.
3 years for me. But at the time, I didn't know any better. But I think right now, with the given information that is out there, it should not take that much time.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
even for me, similar to Aswarth, I started kind of seriously pursuing this in Q2 of 2022. So for me also, it was around 1.5 year, give or take. But I would say it was the things which I've done in the past. So like the angel investing thing, I've been doing it for a while at that point, and then I had a YouTube channel. I was again publishing papers. So all of that which I did, I didn't knew at the time that okay, I'll use it for EB1A. It was just that I was doing it, and similar to Aswad, like he was also publishing papers before. But when we came to know about okay EB1A and what we can get out of it, so that's when you kind of go back and see how you can tap into what you have done in the past, right? And that is very important for final merits, where you have to show that it's not that for 1 or 2 years you have worked for EB1A and you have created this profile. Like USCIS is very good at evaluating that aspect, and so that's where the sustained part comes, and that sustained national international acclaim, that is one of the things which is very much underrated. I'm saying it again and again, but think about what you have done in the past and how you can use it, and it shouldn't be limited to the past 1 or 2 years, because then it will give an impression to the evaluator that okay, this person has just done things for EB1A and hasn't shown that sustained aspect.
That makes so much sense. Thank you so much.
Ankit?
Yep.
Oh no, the other Ankit who has his hand raised.
Hey, yeah, this is Ankit here. My name is also Ankit here. Yeah, so basically my question here is where, so code reviews, right? I've read like somebody was saying the code reviews. So which code reviews, like your code reviews at your own company or like your some other outside work?
Yeah, I think in my case, it was open source software. So a lot of my work was in the open source world. So I gathered a lot of work that I had done there towards like the impact of the work and how it was used broadly in the industry, and some of the reviews I had done, the maintainer roles to the lawyer, and they weaved it into the petition. Okay, next question.
Okay.
Chaya.
Hi, Ankit, I had this question for you. So, in the judging criteria, I was also wondering like how to get some of these connections for hackathon reviews. I've been an AI professional for better part of a decade, like more than a decade actually. So I feel like I don't have any angel investing background, but I would be good as a technical person, kind of helping there. So I'm also in the Pacific Northwest region, close to UW. So I was hoping to learn more about your connections and how did you go about setting up that side of like the journey for getting a judge role for these kind of competitions.
Cool. Yeah, maybe I can help you with those connections. I know folks in UW, and they are all the time looking for individuals like yourself. So I can
Okay,
help you
great.
there. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Sunil?
Hi, thank you so much for this session. So my question is regarding the judging criteria. For judging, the USCI says that you need to get an invitation. But what if we apply for judging an award? Like I have been applying for the award shows and as a judge, but I'm not getting an invitation from them. So like, what's your take on this? Getting an invitation versus applying ourselves? How does it fit the criteria?
Excuse me. Yeah, go ahead, Aswarth.
So I think one of the evidence you can use was, I mean, after judging the, sorry, whatever, judging the award and everything. So maybe if you can get a letter from an organizer or someone at that awards saying that why they have chosen you as one of the judge, and then how you contributed during the judging. So that would be that would be, I think, sufficient evidence for you. Because for some of the things, I haven't received a specific invitation, but the thing what I showed was like getting a letter from them, or if there is any correspondence between you and them about that judging, so that also you can use as the evidence.
Thank you.
Yeah, in my case, I did multiple technical program committee roles as a reviewer, and the way was I had to reach out to the team and say like, this has been my background, my publications, can you consider me? And then later I got an official email saying that I've been accepted to be a reviewer or invited to be a reviewer. So that email formed that evidence. I mean, no one would know I exist unless I reach out to them, so to say, right? So you do have to take that first step at times, and that will help you out. And you can still use that emails and your name in the website as the evidence.
Thank you so much.
Princey?
Hello. Thank you so much for the session. It's really, really helpful. I might be asking something that is repeated, like regarding judging again. So for the peer reviews, like how many peer reviews are considered sufficient? And I've heard some of the like lawyers, like non-lawyer, like some people who have got accepted said that even just attempting couple of them is enough to fit that criteria. But I've seen so many people getting like 25, 30, 100 peer reviews and so on. So what is sufficient?
Sure. So maybe I can answer that. So see, the thing is, there isn't a specific number, but the thing is, see, if you see the criteria, right? So you just need to be a judge for a conference or some other event. But the thing is, if you say like, oh, I only did like reviewing for 1 or 2 times, so then comes the problem with Ankit was saying, so where is the sustained national or international acclaim, right? So because that will contradict between just meeting the criteria. So that's why what I advise people was, even in my case, right? So I started judging in June 2022. So by the time I submitted my petition in March 2023, so I paced it in such a way that, like every 2 to 3 months, I have something to review for. So that way, I use that as like, I think I did around like 10 to 12 peer reviews to be safe as per my lawyer. And I paced it over a period of 9 months. And then that showed to the USCIS that, okay, so he has been doing, and then he is continuously doing, So that way, I not only meet the criteria, but also showed the sustained acclaim. So that's what's more important.
Okay. And regarding the trade publications, like what is considered a trade publication for AIML? Like does Medium articles count? Like my lawyer said, they won't consider those as trade publication. So like what is considered as trade publication? Could you
Maybe
share
I
some
can take that.
examples? Yeah.
Yeah. So again, as I said, you can still use them in your petition. I used the Medium articles I have published in like for the criteria as well as the final merits, right? Definitely, it's more recommended to have journals and conferences. They take preference, or they take priority over Medium articles, but it's not that you can discount it. If you can publish Medium articles, because then please do, because they are lower hanging fruit compared to getting your article published in a journal or conference. But just by itself, that won't be sufficient. Like just Medium articles won't be sufficient to meet the criteria for trade publications. You should have some journals to meet that criteria, but you can still use it in your final merits if you don't have any journals. or conferences.
So, like, if you want to like add some general content,
sorry, Francie.
just to follow up the same question. If it's a general content, not like research or literature reviews, so we can still publish in journals, or is there any examples you can provide on major trade publication, like for AI/ML specifically?
Like it has to be related to AI/ML, right? So either it can
Yeah.
be literature review, it can be some applied application of, let's say you are applying transformers for doing like some NLP application, right? So it has to be either of them, right? And the best one is if you have done like research and you have, actually moved the needle in something, right? Like there was a benchmark you was set for a particular problem, like in healthcare or something, and then you created your own novel solution and you improve the performance. That's kind of the cream which they are looking for. But if you don't have that, then it doesn't mean that it's end of the road. You can still go ahead with literature reviews. Those are fairly easy to get published, right? Like I can provide you some pointers if people reach out to me offline. But yeah, like if you don't have the actual research under your belt, so go ahead with literature reviews and Medium articles.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Nitin B.
Yeah, hi. My question is to Ankit. You talked about joining a program for profile building. So I just wanted to get your feedback on, like, there are a lot of programs these days. Do you have any general feedback on how helpful these are and what are any recommendations? Yeah.
Yeah, like at the time when I joined, the program cost was honestly $900. And now the same program, or I would say just 6 months after I joined the program, the cost was $5,000. So it's again comes down to ROI, right? That like the low cost, like again, 900 is money, but it's not 5,000 or 13,000, right? So what I would recommend is more of, the classroom setting. That is what is more helpful, so, and again, like the three of us are also having something in mind on those lines, because that's what we believe from our experience helped a lot. So yeah, so keep, in the Google form which we'll share, you'll get more insights. But yeah, just be in the loop and you'll get to know more about what we have in works.
But do you think that they actually end up helping you in terms of guiding and building your profile?
Yeah, like at that point, again, this is 2021, there were not of resources available, right? But now there is so much resource which is available. I think we discussed it earlier as well, that maybe if I have to take the decision today, I would not go ahead with that kind of a program. I would rather go with something which is a classroom setting where, I can ask questions and get response, similar to what you're, like a webinar setup, but more focused.
Okay, thank you.
Utkarsh, can
Hello. Hi. Thank you all for having this session. I have a question around critical role and leading role. So my question is around like I believe you're all in the leading roles and the critical roles. How did you show the documentation around, like, you are managing a team? You are basically, what kind of documentation and letters you got from your like VPs or like even directors or senior directors? Or like, do you need to show a real impact on in your letters? Like, what made you role more critical or leading? Yeah.
I'm not sure I completely understand the question. I don't know if you both understood. Like, so your question is like, in terms of recommendation letters, like, who are the nature of people you get?
Yes. And like, what kind of document do you really need to show? Like, do you need to show like impact in terms of like dollar impact versus like percentage? Like, people are like really hesitant writing, okay,
Yeah.
this is the dollar impact you made. And like in terms of percentages, they're fine. But like when you say like, can you add a dollar?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a tricky one, showing a dollar impact, right? So it's not, I mean, sometimes it's company secrets or whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, having broad perspective of the impact and also some specific details around focused on your contributions generally help. And I try to get like the as much senior management as possible and folks from other companies that I work with broadly across Europe and US talk about my work. So it's relative. I mean, I think as long as it cohesively talking about your impact in general, that's good. Yeah.
Is there a certain hierarchy that you get the letters from, like the VPs or SVPs, or is it like senior directors? Is
Yeah, I mean,
fine.
in my case, VP was not available to give me a letter, right? So
Okay.
I went with a director, right? So, but I did know fellows and senior principal engineers in other companies, which I got my letters from.
Okay. And the past employees is also fine, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Arpita?
Oh, hi. So my question is, at what point in this journey you actually try to get a lawyer and strategize things? Because right now we have so much information. So is that you guys did your homework first and then you went to a lawyer, or you actually the first step was to go to a lawyer so that they can set the mood for you that, hey, these are the criteria that should you aim for? Like, what's the journey of the lawyer in this EB1A journey?
Aswarth is smiling, so go ahead, Aswarth.
No, it was a interesting question that I'm just thinking about that. So, I mean, I have like a mix of responses on that, because when I went with my company lawyers, I mean, I tried to, okay, so, okay, for me, I just wanted to understand what criteria I met and where do I stand. Okay. So, and then I went for a lawyer, and then they told me, like, you are not eligible, or something like that. But I mean, the thing is, with respect to the company lawyers, I didn't get much information over like a period of 1 year. But when I started going for an external law firm, they said like, okay, so you will meet here, and then we can start. Sorry, you need to fulfill some of the other criteria. So maybe you can start writing the petition while I'm building the profile. So I think based on, sorry, long story short, I think I started at first, at least to understand what criteria I met and what criteria I lacked, so that I made an effort to build that profile. So I think I initiated at the initial stages.
Understood. Cool. That helps. Thank you.
Yep. Mo? Maybe Mo is not Raj.
Hey, hi. Morning. Thank you all for giving such a wonderful experience sharing session. My question is, I'm PhD in geography and environmental science, holds around 15 years of teaching experience at assistant professor level in different colleges in India. Right now, I'm on H4 visa in India, in US, and got an opportunity as a volunteer associate professor without pay. So, does this count? It's a private university. Does this count towards any of the criteria? And as far as the publication is concerned, I have some review articles. 2 of the research papers are under publications. And as a peer reviewer, I did around 10-15 papers with different journals. It's really confused in terms of whether do I qualify, or is there a way working towards this journey? I mean, just need little guidance. I tried approaching few prominent lawyers like Chen, Porter, something. They straight away replied no, because of citation. Because my citations currently for all the papers, what I have 5, there is 0 citation, because I was not, doing kind of marketing. You can say that promoting it on different academic portals like LinkedIn or Academia or ResearchGate, which I started doing now. What's your advice on my case based on your experience?
Ankit? How?
Yeah, like I would say, every bit counts, right? So definitely those will go in your final merits to show that sustained national and international acclaim aspect. On its own, it won't stand the ground for meeting the criteria, in my opinion. But again, like you should use
So
it
I think
and tap
based
it.
on what you said, you are like doing in the teaching and so doing.
Yes. Sorry, we lost you.
Doing some research, right? So I would say.
Yeah, Aswarth, I think dropped off.
Sorry.
Um,
Sorry, I think it got. I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
So
we can hear.
Yeah. See, citations alone are not the. I mean, it's very good to have, but I mean, the reason why citations are important is because it will show you how your work was used by other folks in the industry, and then they will serve as like independent objective evidence as per the USCIS. Okay, so if you think you are having a trouble over there, so maybe start looking at one of the other criterias in parallel to see like how you can go about it. Akash, sorry, I'm borrowing this from your template here. So usually, I would say was like try to list down all of the criteria and then see like, I mean, based on your 15 years of experience, identify the pieces of evidence that can go into each criteria, and then see like if you can bypass the authorship of scholarly articles or something. So that's where I would start with that.
Okay. And another thing, if the research work, my original PhD, what I did it in 2012, if that was used by government of state government in India, okay, and it benefited them in terms of getting positive results, so those letters would also be considered as a valuable appreciation, or
Yes.
how?
Yes, it will definitely be valuable. Yes, so it will, you can use it under the original contributions, and also, yeah, you can definitely use it under original contributions.
Okay, and at what stage you are suggesting? I heard it is repetitive question because it was asked in the previous one. What stage do you suggest to connect with lawyer? Because when I tried connecting, their suggestion is you get 3 to 4 months of time to apply when I sign up with the lawyer, but it gives always a feeling that the profile is not 100% ready in terms of having everything. So signing up with attorney is at what stage? That is still a very big confusing thing.
I'll leave that to Sunku.
Yeah, so I mean, at least for me, I went with a company lawyer, right? So, see, I mean, it doesn't hurt to talk to lawyers, like you said. But having said that, like, I think the important thing from your perspective needed is like clear mapping of your work to the criteria and say, okay, you have accomplished certain things in some major criteria, and then convey the impact clearly so that you can talk to a lawyer like about like the overall impact, what you have done, and then see like if it's your overall petition or the evidence is ready or not. And so it's always good to get your feedback, but then I hope you feel strongly confident enough that you have enough evidence to, really prove to the lawyer first off to say that you have done enough. So yeah, it's you have to take it as you go. There's no straightforward answer.
If I have the liberty to ask one more question, if there are more
Sorry, Raj.
people,
Like I mean, there are like we are over time, and then like two more people.
no problem.
Yeah,
No
feel
problem.
free to reach out to us
Would
on
you
LinkedIn.
recording of that last question? Because I missed the first 20-25 minutes.
Yeah, we'll be sharing the recording as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
We have two people left for questions. Nitin, you go first, and then Pradeep, you go next.
Hi. So I see like all of you went for at least 5 to 6 criteria. So is it generally advisable to go for more than 3? And my next related question is, like given a limited time frame, what are the criteria that you can like build upon or easier to achieve in a limited time frame?
Yeah, it's not a straightforward answer, right? The reality with EB1A, there are no shortcuts, right? And if you do take shortcuts, again, you better know what you're doing. But yeah, like so, there's no like, oh, this criteria. So it's like this, right? Everybody jumps on something and it becomes a normal commodity. It's not extraordinary anymore, right? So to that end, what matters is your domain, what the opportunities you can see, and how do you relate to your expertise and the criteria, and what can you bank on, right? So there is no straightforward answer to say like, hey, what I think in the chat as well, hey, give me something that is 2 months, give me something that can get done in 4 months. So it's not like months type of game, right? So it's like overall evidence that you gather to show sustained acclaim, like Ankit or Aswarth shared in the beginning as well. So you need to build it to a point where, I mean, if you are 25 years in the industry and you've done a whole bunch of things in your past career, maybe you can repurpose that as evidence and say maybe you might be ready in a short time. If you're 1 year in the industry and you're just graduating, better do some major things that show that as evidence as well, right? So it's relative to the domain and your area of experience, and then what is ready, possible for you to put in as evidence. So yeah, I can really comment more than that.
Okay, but it's generally advised to substantiate at least like 5 to 6 criteria rather than just going for the bare minimum.
So, see, to add to that point, right? So there is no such standard kind of thing. You need to go generally 5 or 6, or you need to go 3 or something. So see, the thing is, I only went with only 3 of my strongest criteria and then used it in final merits. But whereas Sunku went for 8 criteria and then got the approval. So it all depends on your particular case. If you feel, I mean, if you and your lawyer feel that your 3 criteria are the most strongest, so maybe you can go with that. Or if you think like there is something missing, so then the lawyer will recommend like going for another criteria which serves as a backup. Okay. So I think there is no fixed number there, but it all depends on how strong you are with respect to each criteria and what is the strategy you are following.
Thank you.
Hi all, thanks for conducting this session. I have a question. How would this critical role, how we can show the documentary evidence, especially my few of friends who are in Microsoft and some of the end customers, they have shown the as a critical role from senior managers and vice presidents, but they're asking what was the product and what was the impact happened on the market. Few of the in the RFE they are asking more documentary evidence and what was the cost. Because of him you are not able to complete, show me that on the previous kind of statistics, such a thing. How we can get avoid that kind of RFEs in critical role.
So your question is, if you apply for a critical role with certain set of letters, you're getting RFE
Yes.
to show certain statistics?
Yes, yeah. I mean, my friends who have been done with the consulting industry, IBM, and some of them from Microsoft, the product based, they have brought the letters from the vice president and senior directors, everything, but still they got RFE stating that send me the documentary evidence why this product is very crucial, how it was related to the industry. Without him, you are not able to complete.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it
What was
comes
that?
down to your narrative, right? And that's where I think in the beginning of the session I shared, right? So your narrative has to be very impactful from the perspective of like, okay, is it something on the world stage you've done or national stage you've done, or your products are performing at or impacting, right? So to that end, anything you do, you have to work with your attorney to say, what has been the impact? So, I mean, once an attorney told me this, right? So, a lot of people have easy way to justify their product or service important to the organization or the business unit they're working in, but not necessarily to the company. Or even if you show the impact to the company, how does it kind of apply broadly outside of your company. So to that end, like it's important you do homework towards building a narrative to say how has it been crucial for the economy, for the infrastructure that the domain that you're working in, right? So that's what USCIS kind of looks for. It's in the policy manual as well. So, and you have to work with the teams that internally and externally you have to build a narrative from external viewpoint as to why some of the details that you present are crucial to the world or to the nation. And that's something you build over time, like you understand in depth as to what your domain needs are, and then you build out in the narrative.
Yeah, they have given the two of the attorneys have worked on the narrative part, but when they are requesting the documentary evidence, how because of him only, it was the cloud applications has impacted in the Microsoft. They are asking such a kind of documentary evidence from the
Yeah.
external that he was not able to prove, and it was
Yeah.
denied later.
Yeah, just to add to that, there are two things which I just want to call out. Just designations won't work. Like if you have like VP or director and writing the reference letter and you think that okay, it will suffice, that won't be on its own standard ground. But so that is one point. The second point is just reference letters also won't suffice. So you need to provide some corroborative evidence to support it, right? And so like it's difficult depending upon where you are working at, but that is also something which we should keep in mind, that like whatever is written in reference letter, can you back it up with some corroborative evidence? It can be like you worked on a product which got some media coverage, so that is something which you can use.
Yeah, collaborative, because he worked on the cloud applications. He has showcased the Microsoft achievements, but they are asking in detail where is the resource name was there and how does it
Yeah,
was
so
impacted
that's what
over
I
there.
mean by you need to have some corroborative evidence as well, like other which is like more objective and not just one person writing that okay, this guy is awesome.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Ankit and Sunku for giving, because he has shared 6 letters, but still he has a denial on that.
Great. I think we covered through as many questions as we got. Yeah, I shared the LinkedIn profiles of all of us, all three of us, in the chat. So feel free to reach out to us. And then the slides and the recording will be made available soon to the folks who are registered. Like, watch out for your email. And Ankit has shared the link to the feedback and questions around what would help you. So feel free to fill that in so that we can do more of this in the future to help you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
any closing thoughts or comments? Yeah, no, I think the only thing I would say is, so be confident in the direction you're going and, reach out. I think Ankit, Aswarth kind of indicated this as well, right? To reach out, look for opportunities, volunteer as much as you can to get as many opportunities, and don't feel deflated if something doesn't get worked out, right? So keep going.
Yeah. And just to add to that one point, as I said earlier, the persistence is the key. And one aspect you need to consider, whoever is starting to build the profile, is your sustained national or international acclaim. So that is the very, very important piece. So just meeting the criteria alone is not sufficient. So, so please make a focus on that so that you can have like a very good strategy going forward.
Great. Thank you, folks. We can close the session.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Akash.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Akash.